the video starts, make sure you follow our socials in the description and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Welcome back to the Offbeat Podcast. Back again this week with a new guest. Doing an online recording. Not used to doing these, but I had to do it for this special guest. Joined by pro wrestler and Gladiators star, I'm going to say, Wesley Nsereko. How are you, mate?
Let's go. Not bad. You all right?
Yeah, I'm good. My mates were texting me before and being like, you need to open up with Gladiators ready and Contender ready. And I was like, I'm 5'9". I can't be a captain of a Gladiator, can I? Like, come on.
Don't do that. That gives me goosebumps. It's like I'm going to war again when I hear that whistle and the countdown.
You certainly went to war, mate. Definitely. So for the people sort of watching and listening at home, you are a pro wrestler, aren't you, currently by trade? And you were a finalist in a very big reality TV show recently with the Gladiators on BBC.
Yes, still surreal to be fair. Just being a part of it. Everyone who was there, just being a part of it. Everyone was buzzing. People working backstage were just happy to be there. So to sneak in, get to the grand final, wow! Like, I still can't believe it.
It was a bit of a weird sort of route to the final for you, wasn't it? Because you were like a reserve, weren't you? That you managed to get drafted in for a few injuries.
Yeah, I think when they sent me my initial contract to even get involved, they sent camera crews out to film me at work. They sent camera crews to film me wrestling. And I was like, why are you like so heavy on recording all this stuff? I'm just a reserve. And they were like, there's a lot of injuries in Gladiators. Like, the chances are you'll be used. And as soon as they said that, I was like, oh, wow, this is let's just say I trained a bit hard in gym that night.
I don't blame you, mate. I mean, you're kind of used to being thrown around, aren't you? So I bet none of it was a shock to you. Because some of the games are brutal, aren't they? Bear in mind, you're just in an arena with a little mat down. You got battered a little bit, didn't you, in some of them games?
Yeah, I've seen a few armchair quarterbacks saying, "Oh, that looked easy that bit," but I can promise you that there might have been some clever editing. There were some big hits, and as you know, you go down on a mat, you can go down just to move coffee table and you can hurt your knee. So imagine what it's like when you've got someone twice your body weight landing on top of you.
I'm glad you said that and not me. I'm glad you said that as a pro wrestler, because I'll be like, yep, I always do. I'll be pulling my knee, pulling me back. I'll be like, oh dear. There was some big lads you came up against, weren't there? Where there's Apollo's a pro rugby player or ex-pro rugby player. You had people like obviously legend with Matt Does Fitness, who's sort of been a fitness freak his whole life. Jesus Christ, putting up with them. I bet it was a bit of a challenge, especially in the final, because it was very close as well, all the way through.
Yeah, I think being like, some of them I might have had them on the height, but just the amount of muscle stacked on them, they outweighed me. And elite, you can tell they're elite athletes. Anytime I've ever trained with anyone who's just that next tier above, like, yeah, I've got a 9 to 5, so I'm sat at a desk a few days a week. There's something different in their eyes when the whistle goes. You can see that they switched to another level, and I felt it, and you can see it. I saw it straight away.
Yeah, you definitely could see it as well on TV. You came across really well, and it's been a huge hit as well. I'm presuming that Gladiators must have been sort of like one of your childhood shows as well, mustn't it?
100%. That being a pro wrestling fan, anyone who looks at the landscape when you're a kid, like pro wrestling and Gladiators, is just the same for me. Entertainment. And a bit of sports thrown in, a bit of athleticism thrown in. You look at Wolf, you could pull him out and throw him into any wrestling show up and down the country. He'd be the top star. So I think they're the same.
Well, wasn't Oblivion like now Nick Aldis? Is that correct?
Yeah, he was Oblivion Gladiator. Now he's the general manager over on WWE. I've been trying to get his attention, let him know I'm around.
Don't blame you, mate. Straight away be like, yeah, sign me up. Definitely. So, also, did notice there was quite a few WWE references you did in your celebrations. I believe you did like a Guerrero one, didn't you? If I remember correctly.
Off the top of my head, yeah, I did. I threw LeBron James in there, and then I thought, oh, why am I doing some wrestling? To see if I can get some attention from from the higher ups. Did Booker T, Eddie Guerrero, Sheamus, Shawn Michaels, Triple H. There was another wrestling fan. He was doing a few things as well.
Were they all pre-planned? Were you kind of like, oh, I need to sort of put on a bit of a show here, definitely?
No, do you know what? No, like the only thing I had in the back of my head was if I have any decent performance, I'm going to do a spinneroonie. Even though I know I couldn't do one, I was pretty beat up, and I'm so glad that made the edit because I was worried that it would be cut for time because they got to edit it all down to a 1 hour show. But I remember thinking my body was starting to break down. I was like, if I go out in a blaze of glory, I need to do something. So I was like, let me just throw one of these in.
Let's chuck it in. I bet the crowd loved it as well. Did sort of being a pro wrestler help with? Because obviously the crowd was Sheffield Arena's like about 10-15k capacity, isn't it? Like, did that sort of help you with dealing with that crowd?
Yeah, I think there was a few things that married over for me for pro wrestling that helped. One was just the general mental and physical fatigue through the day. I'm kind of used to, like, if I've got a little niggle or I've got a little dodgy knee, if I'm on the poster for wrestling, I can't really just phone in sick and say, oh, I'm not coming. Like, I'm down to wrestle. I might be down to take a few of the guys over as well. So just being able just to crack on for the next event, that helped. And then the long days, used to long days at wrestling, like might drive all the way over to Wales, set the ring up, help set up, help put the chairs out. You never know. Then you've got to wait around for fans to come in, and then your show you might be on last, so you've got to wait for a 2 hour show to be over. Then you've got to wrestle. Then you've got to put all the ring away and then drive back from Wales. So I'm used to those long days. So when we were sat around waiting for them to set up, I was kind of used to that. So I think I had the advantage there.
I mean, people don't see that side to pro wrestling, do they? Because I interview quite a lot of bands as well, and they're in the same boat where they're their own sound engineers. You have to go and set everything up. It's basically like a full-time job, and you're not getting paid a full-time wage for it. It is a very demanding job.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And just again, I could see it in Gladiators. I was fascinated just the TV magic of them seeing put stuff together. And yeah, these were long days, but then it's edited down into 58 minutes, 59 minutes for Twitter to have their say. And it's like, you didn't see everything that goes into it.
Definitely not, especially because when you're seeing some of the massive rigs and stuff where you're going up in the air and stuff, it was all done in 2 seconds, whereas I bet that took hours. How long was your average sort of filming day? Say for like your semi-final, was it like 4 hours, 8 hours? What was the schedule?
I'd love to have just sat down and worked it all out because some of the call times I think were 6:30 a.m. going down for taxis, 7 a.m. I think eventually we convinced them to push it back a bit. And then I weren't getting home. I weren't getting back to the hotel. Till 11:30 at night. So that was the hard thing. I think being a bit sleep deprived because your adrenaline's through the roof. Like you've just been in front of everyone in Sheffield Arena with Bradley Walsh saying, "Well done, Wes. You've just made it to the grand final." And I'm like, "You're on cloud 9." It's like, right. Go get some scran and go to bed. Get ready for the final tomorrow. I'm like, what is going on? That was tough.
Right, so they filmed them back to back. Did they like block out Sheffield Arena for like a week?
Yeah. I'm gonna say that would have cost a fortune if we had to come back every weekend. So it was just blocked out and back to back. That's hence why there was so many knocks and bruises and injuries. If you watch it back, you might see little bits of tape pop up on my body here and there, but it's the same colour as my gear, so you might not see it, but I was heavily taped up by the end.
Don't blame you, mate. It looked like it would. I just presumed it would be sort of like a weekly activity, but I suppose costings-wise, you can't really do that, can you? Did you manage to kind of sneak any mementos from there? Did you manage to kind of keep your kit or anything like that?
I may or may not have got my kit. You may, if you pop to a wrestling show, I might be wearing something here and there. got me tracksuit and stuff, but yeah, I didn't think we'd. I think early on, anyone in the heats or the quarters might have not got anything, but I think we unofficially, officially earned that right once we got to the final. Like, well done. Take your tracksuit with you because we needed it when we were popping up to radio and TV anyway. So
of course, yeah, because there's a lot of media, and I know that they did a lot of stuff here over in my side near Manchester. There was Trafford Centre, there was Gladiators popping up left, right, and centre. So, did the BBC sort of organise a lot of media work for you then, after the show coming out?
yeah, they sorted it all out. And if you've ever worked anything with TV, a lot of it is fortunately is last minute. Like you'll get a message at 6 p.m. like, can you come to radio tomorrow at 9 a.m. and it's like alongside a full-time job. It was tricky, but you balanced it. So I missed a few things because obviously some things were too last minute. Or do you know what I mean? Can you get to London like tomorrow? Like no. So yeah, I can see why celebrities I've never been to that level, but I can see why they all have publicists and everything sorting it all out for them because that was a full-time job itself.
I bet you're used to it though a little bit because wrestlers work on dropouts and all sorts of shows last minute quite frequently, don't they?
Yeah, I didn't mind the last minute. Can you do this? Can you do that? And I was ready to do it. Was just ready to go for it. It was just the volume of it in the space of 2 weeks. Like I might fill in for a dropout once a month or something, but this was just 2 weeks of absolute chaos. Every day there was something every day. I still need to write down everything so I can look back on it. Because it was two of the weeks, it was just madness. I felt like I was just living out of my rucksack.
Just up and down the country, here, there, and everywhere, definitely. Speaking of some of the gladiators, then, so a lot of them have sort of found some newfound fame on there. Just a few quick questions on them because they've all got their own individual strengths. Some are quicker than others. Some are sort of a lot bigger and stronger than others. Who was the sort of toughest to go against, do you think?
Yeah, I think you got it in one of there. That they're all. It depends on the event. Like I can't see anyone beating like say Nitro on the wall. The stuff he was saying that he sees things in slow motion apparently, like unreal. So good luck to anyone.
Isn't he like not a pro sprinter, but he's a runner, isn't he? Which is just
yeah,
ridiculous.
he got to the Olympics with sprinting. He can run. I think his 9.98 or something is his 100-meter time. So I think in the ring someone tried to like run round him, and it's like, what are you doing? Like you're never ever gonna run round. Yeah, so you got sprinters, and I don't know if some of them are just too big. Bionic and Giant are just too big. You can't move them. I was hitting them with everything. I think I ended up damaging my biceps trying to move Giant on Jewel. And then you've got all-rounders, haven't you? Like Phantom, who's I think he was at the Olympics, bobsleigh. And he's got the speed and the strength, and it's like, oh, leave it out.
Some of them are so niche, and I'm like, where have you found these people? I mean, they're great. They are absolute superhumans, a lot of them. There was one of them which was sort of catapulted, and I knew he was going to be exactly as he was, because I've watched, Legend, as he was called on the show, but Matt Does Fitness, I've watched him on YouTube for years, and he was very much a talk. Let's just say, if he turned up to WWE next week, I think he'd do all right, wouldn't he?
Oh yeah, he could get him sent over with any crowd. Like, I think a lot of his little interviews at the end of each thing might have been a minute long, maybe. But he was saying other stuff. He was keeping everyone entertained on their toes. I think he's raised the bar for TV personalities. I think I'm seeing he's popping up on all sorts, isn't he? I've seen clips. I don't know. I've not watched them fully, but yeah, he entertained throughout.
Yeah, he's in there and everywhere, isn't he? And he backed it up as well. I mean, was it all like pre-planned what he was doing? Because obviously he was just cracking jokes left, right, and centre. Was it a case of before the show, the producer came over and said, "Look, you're facing Legend. He's going to say this and this," or was it just all off the cuff?
That was all off the cuff. They kept their cards close to their chest. We never knew who we were against. So you got like genuine reactions. Like, I wonder if the footage of like, I wanted Giant on Jewel. I don't know why. Biggest guy. So that reaction of his music hitting and all the fires coming on was me like, yes, here he is.
It was like a WWE pop, wasn't it? When someone walks out WrestleMania and you're just going crazy. If Giant came out and I was stood there on Duel, I'd be like, no, not for me, thank you.
Yeah,
I think it will not.
and I think it's going to be even bigger the second series because now people have seen what they can do. They've got the images in their heads. Like we were all experiencing it live, and we'd only seen them for like 4 days what they could do, but they were still generating that buzz. So it's just going to be even bigger, I think, bigger and badder as it goes on.
Did they keep you separate backstage as well? Was it sort of like Gladiators one side, contestants other, or were you sort of mixing in and around?
Yeah, separate, all separate. I didn't see their Gucci changing room until I don't know if you saw that little fly on the wall footage they were throwing out there. I think I was walking past one of the monitors and I saw that they were filming some stuff and I was like, look at that bloody changing room. Proper home and away tactics that.
It was very much a Premier League sort of standard changing room, definitely. So, with like the experiences on TV, like what was the whole sole purpose of going on Gladiators? Was it to try and push your pro wrestling career? Or was it just a case of, look, I think I can do this. I reckon I could win this.
I think, yeah, the initial thing to go on was I'd love to be a gladiator just because I watched it as a kid. Then as soon as like you get the first phone call, I was like, oh, wait a minute, like if I got on, that'd be so good for pro wrestling, just to get my name out there a little bit more. But then once you're performing and you're out there and you're doing it, all that goes out of your head. It weren't until after the final I was like, oh, something might come of this, you never know. So yeah, I wish was there things I'd do differently? If I was a marketing genius, there's probably something else I could have done along the way, but I was just you could tell I was just having the time of my life.
You could do. It was a lot of entertainment. You could tell it from the majority of the contestants where everyone was just like, right, we're here to have a good time. But I don't think you could have done anything differently, Brandon. I saw you had a title in your section for a little bit of it, and the only more obvious thing was you'd be walking out in one of the Ugandan Warrior t-shirts, but I don't think they're allowed to do that for licensing.
No, that was a last minute decision actually. That when my family popped up, I saw that like all the other contenders were bringing flags and stuff, so I quickly like got onto my mates and like get back to my flat and get the belt, get the flags, get them all out. They're like, oh yeah, good idea. So it was a last minute decision that.
It definitely worked though, because having a belt flying around in your it's always a good thing to see, isn't it? Definitely. And you never know as well with TV. Like there's a lot of TV shows doing like an all stars cast, aren't they, in a few years? Would that be something you consider again, sort of going back and giving it one more try?
Yeah, 100%. I got an inkling that I should keep fit, so I'll keep training because you never know.
Especially with TV as well, you definitely never know. We're going to take a quick break right there, and then second part we're going to come back, and I want to dive a lot more into sort of like the pro wrestling world with WWE Tryouts, promotions to work for, and I also want to touch on you having a dream of fighting Kofi Kingston as well.
Oh yeah.
See you back in part 2. Welcome back to the Offbeat Podcast, part 2, and we are back again. So, as I said, I've got to be a little bit of a wrestling nerd when I've got a pro wrestler on there. You are the first pro wrestler I have ever actually interviewed, so
fantastic.
We definitely want to get into it. Definitely, I'd probably say you're most known for your sort of experiences in around the Yorkshire area, sort of with like True Grit Pro Wrestling, aren't you? Would you say?
Yeah, definitely. After lockdown, that was one of the companies that I got heavily involved with, so ended up being the champion, the longest reigning champion, and wrestling the who's who of British wrestling along the way. For any British wrestling fans out there, all the top names, James Mason, Rampage Brown, Brady Phillips, did I say James Mason, Sam Gradwell, all these lads who've gone to NXT UK, WWE, and then now they've come back on the British scene, so it was good to lock horns with them.
Definitely. I mean, Rampage Brown is a big lad as well, isn't he? I mean, I wouldn't get on the wrong side of him either. What sort of wrestlers have you fought where you've been like, Jesus Christ, you're sensational? Is there any that really stand out to you? that you've sort of shared a ring with?
Yeah, there's loads. There's ones that aren't even like known names massively on the scene, but anyone who's familiar with the major products, like if you go to a house show, just one of these things at like Leeds Arena or something, you'll notice that they have loads of fun and they can mess around. So I've wrestled in town halls or working men's clubs, and something that's happened that's just been they've just caught a certain thing at the right time, the right moment, and everyone in that building's just on the same page, and it's just been an amazing reaction, a huge pop. So that happens up and down the country all the time with big names, people who've just started out and they've had that one match or one moment that's absolutely amazing. It can be something stupid, just some ridiculous aerial move that they tried or a little dance move that they did, and it just popped the whole crowd. It happens all the time, and sometimes I'm just gutted it's not all on TV. Seeing the reaction that Gladiators got 8-9 million views. There's things I see on a weekly basis, and I like if someone out there could grab this and make a TV show, I think it'd have some legs.
Well, they tried it for a little bit, didn't they, on ITV? They brought it back. Was it World of Sport? Is that what it's called?
Yeah. I spoke to a few. I wrestled a few of them. I'll be with a few of them lads on the weekend coming, and it's such a shame that didn't grow. I think whoever was because they kept moving the times, so people were struggling to watch, and then the edits. I think they didn't have a wrestling fan or a producer, so they were doing quick edits, which I don't know which TV show that doesn't work for wrestling. It needs to be a nice steady shot so it can marinate. And if you've got kids watching, it's just all over the place. You need them to focus. So it's a shame that didn't fall into place because that'd probably still be going now if they'd carried on.
Of course, yeah, and it's all about storylines as well. At the end of the day, like pro wrestling is there as like a soap opera, really. You need to build the storylines. You need to get people caring about the wrestlers because that's what's going to win people over, definitely. So when you're coming out, do you prefer to be like a heel character? Do you prefer to be like a fan favourite? What do you prefer as a wrestler?
Yeah, I'm always the goodie. I'm always the good guy. I've been told too many times that I smile too much. I've maybe tried, if I've wrestled in Wales or Scotland, I'm normally so on the outside of there from Yorkshire, so I've tried to be the villain. But I've even had times there where people have come to me after like, "Oh, I liked you. You were good." I was like, "Oh, I've not done my job there."
Does that feel you a bit? Because I mean, if you're going out there and you are the heel, you need to make people hate you. Like there's one at the moment. I can't remember his name, but he comes out and he does like a Tory Margaret Thatcher Appreciation Society. Can't remember his name. But he is doing the rounds on social media. It's all about
on the British scene.
Yeah, on the British scene. I can't remember his name.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, it's not Spike Trevette, is it? Might be. There's down south. I've seen many a clip. There's some great heels in this country. Who was our wrestling the other day? Oh, the Shreddy who's off over to Japan. Mm-hmm. He's a bad one. Brady Phillips, who just beat me at True Grit. Oh, there's some good villains. Yeah.
Is that the ambition for you, sort of one day, to go over to America, to go over to Japan and sort of try your trade out there?
Yeah, I think now I've got a taste of just regular bookings and wrestling the top guys. I would love to wrestle in Europe now. Europe, Japan, just because the thing that drawn me to, you get hooked in by the characters and the music and all the pageantry, but when I started watching it, it was the athleticism that I started to respect, and just knowing, going to the gym, like, okay, these guys have worked hard in the gym to get these. So that the athleticism has started to grow on, and then you quickly realise that in Japan, I think it's still looked at more of a sport and the athleticism. So I'd love to go out with my background of endurance running and gym and stuff. I think I'd enjoy being out in Japan. And yeah, the dream is to wrestle full time in America and beat Kofi Kingston up and down the country. So that'd be ace.
That's a dream, innit, definitely. And with New Japan, it's a bit of a different style of pro wrestling, isn't it, a lot of the time. It's a lot more sort of strong. They call it the strong style, don't they, where they just basically boot each other really, really hard. So does that not sort of deter you both from it? Are you happy to just sort of get stuck in and sort of try different styles out?
Yeah, happy with that. I've taken some big hits, and some of them might have weren't on camera. So if I'd be wrestling for New Japan, I'd be more than happy to go strong style.
They like the Brits over there as well. Like, obviously, Will Ospreay's done mental over there. Like Zach is done amazingly. Like, but they do love the Brits over there. It does transcend quite well.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of, like, as you said, there's your talking heels who might try that politician Thatcher angle. Then you've got your, especially over in Japan and that, you've got like the Samoan, you've got the British wrestlers who are very technical, your high flyers, and I'm kind of getting my own little section of just Wesley, this lad from Uganda and Sheffield who wants to just go over there and cause mayhem. So
you just want to get everybody to love you, don't you, as well, which is always a good character. It's always going to transcend well to the audience, definitely. What is the what is the obsession with fighting Kofi Kingston? Why is he like the end goal for you?
It just entered my head, like, everyone says you need a goal, you need to what's your 5-year goal? I remember the trend was going around that everyone was putting a list of wrestlers they wanted to wrestle, and then you saw 2 years later they were like, oh, I've ticked them all off. And I was going to do that. Oh, this is the list of wrestlers I want to wrestle after Gladiators. I thought, you know what, I'm going to keep it short and sweet, nice and simple. Kofi Kingston lit that fire in me again when he was doing that big Kofi Mania run back at WrestleMania. So I thought, I'll just put him number 1 on the hit list. Let's keep it sweet. I want to wrestle Kofi Kingston. Can be in WWE, can be in the local park over here in Yorkshire. Bring it on, like, it's just on the list, and I keep throwing it out into the universe because I want it to happen.
Got to manifest it. You've got to manifest it. I mean, it was it Cody Rhodes who made that the list? It was when he left WWE, he had the list.
To be honest, he's probably the one who started it, and then everyone started doing it. They'd come back from injury or they'd leave a company or... and I wrote one just on my phone, and I think loads of wrestlers did, and no one dared post them out. Because then if you don't achieve it, you feel like you failed. And I think I was on cloud 9 after Gladiators. Like, you've got to go for everything. Anything you want, you've got to go for it.
You've got to give it a good go. I mean, if you think about it though, like, I know Nick Aldis doesn't really do a lot of in-ring stuff anymore, but that is a marketable wrestling show, isn't it? Gladiator versus contestant.
Contender. Yeah, do you know what? Yeah, that's why I just wanted to make some noise and just let them know that I'm about, because there's probably someone there in the higher ups that don't even know that there was a pro wrestler of 13 years who got to the grand final. Is that me just not making enough noise myself? I was quiet for a bit, and then just that little itching back here, like, you've got to manifest it. No one's going to come and knock on your door. You've got to knock on their door. So that's why I'm taking all these bookings. That's why I'm happy to do all these interviews, because it's like, I'd only kick myself in 5 years' time, like, as if I was a grand finalist on Gladiators and I didn't do it with it.
Definitely. I mean, I try and take every opportunity that gets offered to me, because you never know, like, what one opportunity can lead to another, definitely. Sort of like, speaking of just like promotion in the UK, because obviously everybody knows WWE is always going to be the one you always want to sort of go for. Obviously, wrestling for Tony Khan in AEW, that's everyone's dream as well. But is there any UK promotions that you haven't or have worked with less that you would love to work with?
Yeah, definitely. I've wrestled for ICW up in Scotland. I'd love to get back up there with them. And then for me, just the big promotions in the UK. I've got in with back on with Megaslam now, which do so many wrestling shows all over the country. I'm going to be doing some big ones for them. They're selling out over 2,000 plus big town halls, and then your big ones, your Progress, your Rev Pro, North, TNT. There's a lot now growing in the UK, and I'd like to scrap with all their top guys. They all know, everyone knows I can bring it, so
why
bring
not,
it on.
Mate? Get you in board, especially because there's one at the moment with like you got Future Shock over in Manchester as well. Like, there's so many that are sort of growing on there.
There's so many, and there's just so many top guys as well that I've locked up with a few of them, but you want it all the magic to all come at once. Like, on the right promotion, in front of the right people, against the right opponent. Just want it all to marry up, and I think I'm on the road to something, but I don't know what yet.
Of course, definitely. I mean, so I wanted to really talk about your WWE tryout. So you went for a WWE tryout, didn't you, in 2017? Is that right?
Yeah, I think it was 17. Yeah.
What was that like? Was it done in the UK? Was it done overseas or?
Yes, that was UK Manchester Arena for 3 or 4 days. I think they put us up. That I was only 5 years into wrestling then, so I've always said to myself, if that was to happen with the Wes I am now, it'd be a whole different story. Like I kept myself to myself. Like I'd just come off surgery actually in 2016 on my knee. So when I got the phone call / email, I think the phone call was, or like the messages was like, we've heard that you're hurt. Like, would you be able to do a tryout? And I think that it was along the lines like, if you're hurt, don't worry, you can do another one down the line. And I was like, this is too big an opportunity. Like, in my head, I was like, they'll soon forget about me. They're not going to offer me another one. So I was like, yeah, I'm fine. And like 2 weeks before that tryout, I couldn't even. You do a forward roll and come up to your feet, and you have to. I couldn't bend my knee to get me sent back up, just because I don't know if it was in my head because of the surgery, and I just couldn't do it. Couldn't do it. It wasn't like till 2 or 3 days before, I think I went to a private gym and tried it again, and I finally did it. I was like, oh, thank God for that, because but the tryout was amazing. Manchester Arena, got there, did a medical, just walking around the hotel, just looking. It's the who's who of wrestling, just walking in and out in the civilian clothes. You're like, what is going on? Then they pulled us into a room to do promos with William Regal. Johnny Saint was there doing interviews to the camera on them. And then just 2 days of getting beasted. I was pretty fit then, so I'd put myself up there as one of the fittest, but it was quite a big class that we had. So we had independent wrestlers, and then we had 7 foot plus kickboxers, rugby league lads, Olympic wrestlers. So you had some specimens who'd rocked up as well. So, and I was just looking at them like, me from the outside looking in, it's like, I know who I'd choose. Like this 7 foot lad who's just come from Dubai, winning in a first round knockout. Like I was like, oh, I'll get pally with him. Maybe I can come in as his tag team partner.
Was there any? What was the specific? I know you said you got beasted, but was it specific drills in the ring? Was it stuff outside of the ring? What did they sort of beast you with?
I think it's just constant fitness drills, wrestling drills, running stairs, carries, burpees, bodyweight. Bodyweight workouts can destroy you, especially if you're just constantly doing them. And it's just that same old thing. Same with, I suppose, any sort of tryout for a footy team or a rugby team. It's who's coachable, who's going to carry on when the going gets tough. I'd like to have seen the score sheets, because I think I did all right when we just cracked on with the running the stairs. I love all that. As I say, that was the bit in wrestling I loved when I first got into it, all the fitness side. But it's just day after day, and I think a lot of it might have been nerves as well. So you're not handling the fitness as well as you would in a calm state. Like like I'm there doing burpees, and every time I get up from a burpee, I'm looking the big Raw Titantron. We were actually in Manchester Arena. They'd set it up because Raw was happening that night.
Oh, class.
So we're working out there. You had your Dean Malenkos, and I met Shane McMahon and Baron Corbin. They're just walking around while you're doing your burpees and stuff. And it's like, this is... And then the next day, they'd redone all the arena, so it looked like SmackDown. So, and we got to watch all the shows, like VIP guests and all that. So I think the occasion gets to you a little. Again, if I could do it again now with the experiences I've had of wrestling top guys, Gladiators, various interviews, TV shows, I think I'd have handled it a bit better, but maybe I'm just being hard on myself. I don't know.
I mean, it's definitely a tactic that they use, though. They are trying to sort of they know everybody can wrestle, they know everybody can do this, but it's all about sort of finding that cream in a crop, isn't it? Finding the best of the best. Was there any lads who you trialled with who's gone on to wrestle in WWE?
A guy that I trained with in Salford, Luke, who's gone on now. He was there. I think he'd just been signed. He was in the crowd. He was just sat watching us. He was a friend of mine. I think he'd just been offered a contract. Ridge Holland.
Oh, nice.
He was there, and then the guys actually in my tryout, yeah, the Gallus boys over in NXT, they were there. Ashton Smith, I think, went on to wrestle NXT UK. There was a few. We had quite a big. I think I was told that our class, like, it's usually not as many people, but I think because they were just about to launch NXT UK, they want to get as many people in as possible. So I think that's why they had independent wrestlers and athletes all in a one-off. Whereas I think usually it's broken down more of they might do just a wrestlers tryout and then they'll get just athletes, but they just threw us all into the mix. So it's a bit of a shame that maybe I've heard that before it's more eyes on and they might take you out for a meal so they can get to know you a bit more. But I think because there was so many of us, it was quite tricky to stand out. And that's when NXT UK, I didn't really know that was going to be. We knew there were rumblings that something was coming, and it wasn't until after that they were telling us like there's going to be some sort of a Europe NXT thing. And at that time, I was quite heavily being a Ugandan wrestler. I did the accent. I had all this, and I was like, in hindsight, no, if I'd have known that they were branching off to doing a UK specific promotion, I'd have just been Wesley, Yorkshire Wes. Do you know what I mean? I'd have definitely changed that up, but it is what it is.
Yeah, you never know what's around the corner, definitely. Well, NXT UK has done some great things to some amazing careers. Like, looking at it, like the Bruiserweight Pete Dunne, you've got obviously Tyler Bate. Like, it's been some amazing wrestlers that have sort of come through there and now wrestle for WWE.
I absolutely love that NXT. That was like I was so buzzing to be a wrestler at that time because I was like, NXT UK had started, AEW had just started, TNA was coming over to UK quite a lot, and I was like, what a time to be a pro wrestler.
Definitely. I mean, I saw Mustache Mountain, as they were called back then. I saw him wrestle a tag team match like 6 months before it's time for NXT, and I was like, Jesus Christ, this is mental. Like, they were good then, and then you see him on TV, and you're like, just take it to that next level, definitely.
I was trying to explain to someone at work, like, I can't think of any other sport, rugby, football, I know it's sports entertainment, but where I've seen people who've gone from wrestling in a working man's club in front of 50 people, 60 people, with a bit of a reaction, to you can fast forward 6 months later and they're in Madison Square Garden. That's mind blowing.
The trajectory is mental. It's as soon as they get you up, they get you in quick as well, and they get you going. And obviously you got like the development center that they've got now in America, and the money in WWE is absolutely mental. I know we've spoken about sort of like you wanting to fight Kofi. Is there any others that you've got on your list? Is there any other sort of wrestlers you've not fought and you'd be like, oh, I reckon I can have a good scrap with you?
Yeah, there's loads. The list is endless for me.
Yeah.
There's the ones who've been and gone that I'd love to have wrestled. Well, you got to throw it out there, innit? Like your Rocks, and I know Triple H ain't wrestling anymore. Your Booker T's. For me, I'd love to wrestle Ridge Holland, especially over in WWE. I'm pretty sure he gave me his first suplex, or vice versa, when his first day of training over in Oldham. I remember I was there because I remember we all saw his first bump and we're like, bloody hell, this guy's special. Kofi and Claudio, which he used to go to Cesaro in WWE.
Yes, yeah.
I've been a massive fan of his for years. Like I think I can relate to him just because I'm not going to be grabbing the mic like The Rock or Legend or MJF. So I think I related to him because I was like, he's someone I'd look up to. Like, I just like that he just goes in there, gets the job done, shows his athleticism, and out you go. So I was like, oh, I'd love to go toe to toe with him. There's loads. I'd love to wrestle anyone, but yeah, they're the two or three that jump to mind.
Name a time and a place and you'll be there, 100%. I wanted to talk a bit about eras of wrestling as well, because I'm not too sure if what was sort of like your era of pro wrestling where you were like, right, this is where you fell in love with it. Was it sort of like the early 2000s, late 90s?
Yeah, it would have been, when I was fully in, it would have been early 2000s. Like, I was watching it, but I think at that age, I didn't fully understand what was going on, and I was in my football era as well. I was a Sheffield Wednesday fan then.
Then, are you not a Wednesday fan now? No.
Yeah, I am. But I don't. With the amount of hours of wrestling to watch and me wrestle itself, I've not been able to keep up with any. I'll tune into Euros, World Cups and stuff, but the amount of TV there is now with bloody Netflix and all that, it's hard to keep up with all. But I remember watching when Stone Cold had just come back from his neck injury. When he came back, I didn't even know who he was. That's how young I was then. And then I was 2000s. I heavily got into it when it was your Brock Lesnar's, your Eddie Guerrero's. I was a massive Triple H fan, Batista, all them guys. So yeah, early 2000s, all the way up to me going to university. Then you fall off a bit, don't you, at uni?
Yeah,
I got a bit distracted, but then got back into it.
Everyone does. I mean, mine was a mid sort of noughties era for me, mid to late noughties, where you had like Edge. Edge was the one for me. I know his spear probably isn't the best as other people, but when I think of a spear, I think of Edge just because iconic. He also had the best entrance music ever. Do you have like a set entrance music being on the circuit, or do you sort of change it up?
I'm in the this week as I realise like I've missed the boat here by not really. I've reached out to a few musicians.
Mm-hmm.
And you give them my ideas, and it was kind of okay. I've had 2 or 3. True Grit Wrestling have made me my own track. That's amazing, but they only want me to use it for their company only, which is a shame. But that's great for that company. So I'm in the stuff you can do with AI now. I'm in the midst of trying to create something that gives you that little flavour of me being from Uganda, and it needs a bit of a Gladiators twang to it now. So it needs to be something, as you know, it can be a wrestler's entrance. You make or broken on like that, just your entrance alone. That first 10 seconds, I think people realise if they like you or not. So it's so important, and I think if I've got the right entrance and everything all comes together, I think that could get me to that next level. So if there's any musicians out there that want to help, hit me up.
I have interviewed quite a lot of musicians, so you might have a couple popping in. Definitely, I hope so. Definitely,
it's a hard task though.
It is. Well, it's more of a case of the wrestling you do, sort of doing the house shows, doing these shows that are sort of advertised with your name, but a lot of people might know you from Gladiators, might just be going to a wrestling show just for a family event. So it's very important you get them in the first 5 minutes, because if you don't, then you're going to struggle. Whereas obviously if you're in this huge promotion, you're wrestling every week, people are just going to naturally get to know you. But in your industry, you need to make sure first impressions definitely count. 100%.
Oh yeah, your entrance, then it's uphill battle from there.
It's definitely an uphill battle. Mate, massive thanks for joining me today to discuss a little bit about pro wrestling and about the Gladiators. Can you just shout out your socials so people know where to find you?
Yeah, I'm on all socials as Wesley Nsereko, which the surname is Nsereko. I'm on everything, Instagram, X, Facebook, everything as all those. I put all my upcoming fixtures or matches or everything's on there. Any events I'm popping along to. I'm getting better at putting stuff out there. I went through a spell of not putting anything on, and I wondered why no one were booking me.
It's all about promo in this game, innit? It's all about promo.
Yeah, so yeah, if anyone wants to hit me up, I'm on there.
Can I also just say, obviously with your name as well, Chris Jericho could be a very good one day. I can imagine you two in the ring just shouting Jericho and Nsereko at each other.
That's hilarious that you said that, because when I wanted to use that name, Nsereko, the idea was I come in as a villain. You know, no one can say my name. I get pissed off. The old trick, and it's like Wesley Nsereko, like Chris Jericho. That was exactly what my little tagline was.
Class, excellent. If you are looking at a little bit of pro wrestling, and it's predominantly sort of northern dates, especially sort of in and around the Yorkshire area, Wesley is definitely very active around there. Make sure you check him out. If this is your first time listening to the Offbeat podcast, please do subscribe on YouTube. Let me know who you want to see. If you want to see any more pro wrestlers on here, do let me know, and I'll try and reach out to as many as possible. Wes, thank you very much for joining me, mate.
No, thank you for having me, and yeah, massive props for. Oh, I love anyone who does I'm a massive podcast listener, so well in for keeping this. I bet it's a grind.
Oh, it is a bit of a grind, but see, the reason why I do this is I love to meet people. Like it is the best form of meeting people. I've met pro boxers, comedians, football players. Everybody's got a story, and it's always great to hear them. Definitely,
I love it. Yeah, I listen to them all.
Excellent. Cheers, mate. Appreciate that. We'll see you in the next one. Thank you very much.